Hi, I'm Kat, and today I'm showing you how to make this miniature dollhouse casket, perfect for a vampire or just a little skeletal arm to hang out of. I started with a piece of balsa wood cut into a 7-inch rectangle, and then I'm soaking this in my bathroom sink in some water. You just want to weigh it down and leave it in the water for about 3 hours. Once it's fully soaked, it'll be very soft. So I found a small bottle or jar around the house that's about the same length as the wood, and then you just want to curve the wood around that. And you can use anything to secure it. I'm going to use some wax paper or tissue paper or washcloth and either like a shower hook or some string. But in this case, I have several rubber bands, so I will just rubber band it in place. Allow that to dry overnight. And then you have a piece of wood that is perfectly curved. I cut mine in half, just using a pair of scissors, and made sure they were the same size. And then I built the rest of the casket, the sides, the front and the back, and glued them together. I also measured a piece of wood to go along the bottom and cut that out as well. Using some dollhouse hinges that I purchased on eBay, I just figured out where I was going to put them. I needed about 4 for this, and I decided on 2 for each section of the lid. And I just went on ahead and sketched where they were going to go and glued them in place. And then I used a popsicle stick that I cut off on either end and made just long enough to cover each of those, the hinges, and then put that on the inside. On the outside, I cut more popsicle sticks for the bottom and for the top. And then coffee stirrer sticks to add an extra dimension to my embellishments. And then finally, to get the lid done, I traced the inside curve of the lid onto a scrap piece of balsa, and I did that on both sides of each of the 2 halves. So I had 4 half circles total. Then I used another popsicle stick on the inside lip where the hinges were going to go. And a small coffee stirrer stick on the outside where the lid will meet the front of the casket. Once I had everything glued in place, I painted. And I'm just using black paint for mine. And although you could upholster the entire middle and center of the lids and the coffin itself, I decided to paint the inside of the lid silver to kind of match the fabric. And then I cut out some cardboard that would fit the inside of the casket. Then I used some of the cut off pieces of popsicle sticks to glue in place along the bottom of the wall. And glued my cardboard onto a piece of foam. I added satin fabric to the back of the cardboard and then pushed it in place on the inside of my lids and reserved the longer piece for the bottom of the casket. Then for the little silver embellishments, I use cardstock in a layer of 3 for the top, and then I glued that onto a small layer of 1 and press some aluminum from a cake pan onto that shape with my hands, and then went around it with my ball tool. This is just enough to make a little bit of a raised embellishment on the inside. You can further emboss it, but I wanted to just keep it simple. Cut that out with scissors, and then using a separate piece of aluminum, I had a rectangle that I folded into quarters. And then I used a small skewer stick to wrap the rectangular shape around. I just wrapped it and made sure I had a loop. And then I pulled the skewer stick back out after I folded it over. And then just to add a little detailing, I just embossed in at the top, right underneath where the fold is. I made 8 of those total and glued them on to my casket, 1 on either side, and 3 on the front and 3 on the back. And then I painted 2 skewer sticks black and cut them down the sides to fit on my casket. And then I wrapped one side with another strip of aluminum, and then I began to slide that into the 3 little loops across the top, across the front. And I'm going to warn you now, you'll have to repaint just a little bit. And then I glued my hinges in place. And to make a simple pillow, I'm just putting a little glue on the good side of some satin in an L shape. And then fold it over and allow it to dry. And once it's dried, you can invert it and stuff it and glue it closed again. And glue the other end closed. I didn't show you too much earlier, but I made sure that my popsicle sticks were well raised above the balsa wood. And this is just so that when I close the lid, the little coffee stirrer sticks will actually tuck inside of the popsicle stick and snap it closed. That way you don't have to set up a lock type of thing on here. You just simply have to push it and snap it, and it will snap closed on its own. It will not do that if there's not a lip there. So the lip is provided by the popsicle sticks that are just protruding a little bit over the balsa wood. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.